Welcome to your first unit test. This is a study guide, everything that you're going to need to be successful for the upcoming test. This should be a question mark. How can I be successful on the unit test, on the first unit test, which is, we're going to call it test A, because we're splitting the first test up into two units, or two parts, okay? So how can I be successful on this unit test? Well, there's several things that we can do to help ensure us that we do well. All right, the first thing is ask questions. Guys, I don't know what you don't know. Meaning, if you don't ask questions, I assume that you understand everything. All right, like I've got a pretty good feeling. I mean, that's not entirely true. I've got a pretty good feeling about what you're going to do wrong. I know where kids mess up. I know where kids make mistakes. But just make sure you're asking questions, okay? If you don't understand something, like if you don't have to ask it in front of everybody, ask it just to me in private. If you don't, if you know you're shy or whatever, but ask questions, okay? Put down the fortnight just for a couple days. You're going to have your test on like a Tuesday over the week, like Sunday night, Monday. Put down the fortnight. Look at these rules, and I'm going to show you what we need to look at. Remember how we study for a math test. You got to have the correct answers there in front of you. If you don't have the correct answers with you, how do you know if you're doing it right? So maybe we've talked about how we study for a math test. All right, do problems that are comparable or similar to the ones that we're going to be. You assume they're going to be on the test, and there's not going to be anything on there that I haven't shown you. All right, there's if you do come across something you don't know how to do, we'll talk about that later. But you're going to know how to. You should know how to do all this stuff. All right. Answer the questions you know how to do first, or the ones that don't take that much time. If you see a question that says, what is 5 squared? Answer that one first, all right? And then you go back and answer the ones that require a lot of computation. And then, and only then, is when you go through and you answer the ones that you don't know how to do. You have no clue, all right? I should not see any hands raised within the first 5 minutes of that test being passed out. Like, this question did it. No. If you have questions, you wait for the end. You go through and answer the ones you know how to do first, all right? I want to hear your questions, I do, but go through and answer the ones you know how to do first. Then you go through and answer the ones you're not sure of. And the last thing is, guys, you got to care. If you don't care, there's nothing I can do to help you, all right? And that's a thing all up to you, all right? Let's go through here. How can we be successful on the unit test A? Well, let's look at some things. You got to know your exponent rules, okay? And I'm going to go through it here, and I'm going to just do several of the rules with you. This first one says a to the first power equals a. Y'all know this already. If there is not a exponent that is going with a number or variable, it's an understood 1. So 10 to the first power is just 10. I would hope that you would not get that question wrong, but there will not be a question on your test that says 10 to the what power is 10, or 10 to the first power equals what. Like, you just got to know this, okay? F to the first power is F. It's not 1, it's just F. Now, conversely, this one says A to the 0 power equals 1. That does not say A to the 0 power equals A to the 1. That is not what you're doing. It does not say you give an exponent of 1. It says anything to the 0 power is 1. So if I have the number 5 and I raise it to the 0 power, that's 1. And we've talked about why this is. All right, it has to do with the other exponent rules. When you're dividing a number by itself, it'll be 1. If you had 6 to the third times 6 to the 0 power, the base is saying you're multiplying, you're going to add the exponents, you get 6 to the third. Well, when you multiply something times a number and you get, if you multiply 6 to the third times a number and you get 6 to the third, the only thing that could be is 1, because 6 to the third times 1 would be 6 to the third. That's another reason why it is. Anything to the 0 power is 1. It does not give you an exponent of 1. That is a very common error. The glaring error would be A to the 0 power is 0. And I understand why you'd want to put that. Just remember, anything to the 0 power is going to give you 1, including numbers, including variables. All right. -7 to the 0 power. This negative makes the whole power negative, so that's like saying -1. 7 to the 0 power is 1. That negative sign. The exponent is only talking to what it touches. that exponent is touching the 7. It's not touching the negative sign. Negative exponents. Oh my goodness gracious. We need to talk about this for sure. What this says is a to the negative m equals 1 over a to the m. And this is what that means. If I have a number, let's just say 10, and I raise it to the negative 2. Step 1, what we said is anytime you see a negative exponent, you put your fraction symbol. All right, you're going to make a division sign. You're going to put a 10 squared in the bottom and take away the negative sign, and you're going to put a 1 in the numerator. I'm telling you how to do this. I'm telling you how to do this. Don't go too fast, or don't think you can skip steps and think you're going to get the answer right. Now, 1 over 10 squared, if it's a multiple choice question, that's not going to be one of your answer choices. Don't leave it as 1 over 10 squared. You know what 10 squared is. It ain't 10. Your answer here would be 1 over 100. Nothing about that is negative. Nothing about 10 to the negative 2 is going to give you a negative number. It's a very small number. We talked about what the difference is. If you think your answer is negative 100, that is a completely different answer than 1 over 100. All right? So we're going to talk more about negative exponents as we go through here. If it was a variable, just real quick, if I had k to the negative 3, you put your fraction symbol, put k to the third in the bottom, put a 1 in the top. 1 over k to the third. All right? Okay. The next exponent rule that we looked at was multiplication. We just looked at that just a second ago. If you are multiplying powers and the base is the same, you keep the base the same and you add the exponent. So that's like saying 5 to the 5th times 5 to the 3rd. You keep the base the same. That does not give you 25 to the 8th. That is a crazy big number. This is going to give you 5 to the 8th, which is a lot smaller than 25 to the 8th. All right, you keep the base the same, you add the exponents. So j to the 3rd times 4k j squared times k times j to the 5th. I've told y'all to rewrite this expression. Put the numbers with the numbers, the powers with the powers. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to put the numbers in front. I just have a 4. That's the only coefficient I have here. I'm going to put the j's next to each other. That's j to the 3rd. I have j squared, j to the 5th. And then I have 2 k's. Now I have a k here and a k here, and they don't have exponents. Does that mean it gets that little 2 right there that's going with a j? No, not at all. If it does not have an exponent, you're going to put a 1 with the letter, the variable or the integer, and you are going to say k to the 1st times k to the 1st. Again, I'm telling you how to do this thing. The kids that are getting these wrong are going too fast. They're getting the whole thing wrong. Your final answer here would be 4 j to the 3rd times j squared times j to the 5th. The base is the same. You're multiplying. You're going to add all those exponents together. You get j to the 10th and then k to the 2nd. That would be your final answer. 4 j to the 10th k squared. Hopefully y'all are listening because I'm having to write really small right there. Let me do this. 4 j to the 10th k to the 2nd. Now this next rule says if the base is the same and we're dividing. Guys, if the base is the same, we're multiplying, you add the exponents. The base is the same, you're dividing, you're going to subtract the exponents. We've talked about why this is also. I'm not going to go back, and the purpose here is not for me to go back and reteach every single thing that we looked at this year. All right, we know why this is. I've taught you why this is. We're going to say a to the m divided by a to the n. You keep the base the same, so 7 to the 12th divided by 7 to the 2nd. That's going to give you, keep the base the same. You subtract the exponents. That's going to give you 7 to the 10th power. And if it says write using exponents, I don't want to know what 7 to the 10th power is. In fact, I'm going to give you questions. If I want a number, it's going to be something that's obtainable. I'm not going to give you 7 to the 10th power. All right. So if we had 9 a to the 3rd, b to the 9th, let's choose another number, because say b to the 10th, c to the 5th, and you divide all of that by 3a b to the 7th, c to the 5th. All right, interesting question here, because it's actually kind of combining two of your rules here. I told y'all I think y'all should split it up. That's how I've seen most kids do it with some success. They split these in to, like, you got 4 columns here. You have your coefficients, which is 9 and the 3, and you are dividing that, and then you have your exponents, or your variables that have exponents with it. 9 divided by 3, you are going to get 3. 9 divided by 3. And then you have a to the third. If there's not an exponent, you put a 1. That's going to give you a squared. B to the 10th divided by b to the 7th. That's going to give you b to the third. And then you have c to the 5th divided by c to the 5th. That's going to give you c to the 0 power. That does not say c to the 1, because anything 0 power is 1. It doesn't say the exponent is 1. It says the whole thing becomes 1. It's like saying multiplied by 1. If you leave your answer like that, technically it's not wrong. It's just that's not how we write it. We get rid of that 1 right there, because when you multiply 10 by 1, you could just get 10. 3a squared b to the third times 1 is just 3a squared b to the third. All right. Next rule. If you have a power and it's the base is a fraction, you apply the exponent that is touching the fraction. You apply that exponent to the top and the bottom, such as if you have 5 over 12 and you're squaring that whole thing, that's the same thing as 5 squared over 12 squared, and that gives you 25 over 144. All right, no real rocket science going on there. A to the m, all raised to the n. This is power to a power. One thing that you need to remember here is that everything inside the parentheses gets an exponent. If it's a number, a variable, a car, a piggy, you're going to put an exponent with it, and it's an understood one. So you got a to the m, all raised to the n power. Check this out. 5a to the third, b to the fourth, c to the negative 5, and we're going to square that whole thing. 5a. You are going to distribute the exponent to everything that is inside of the parentheses. Everything that's inside. So 5a to the 5th, or I'm sorry, 6th, b to the 8th, c to the negative 10. Is that right? No. I'm telling you, everything inside the parentheses gets an exponent. This 1, there is a 1 that's going right here with this 5. You have to distribute that 2. The 2 on the outside of the exponent is talking to everything that's inside the parentheses. That means it's being applied to that 5 as well. 2 times 1 will give you 2. That's like saying 25. A to the 6th, b to the 8th, c to the negative 10. And we don't leave negative exponents. We're going to simplify that. You put your fraction symbol. C to the 10th goes down at the bottom. You take away the negative sign, and the 25, a to the 6th, b to the 8th goes in the top. All right, that's how you would simplify it, because we have that negative exponent going with the c. All right. The exponent is only talking to what it touches. Just some things that you need to remember here. The exponent is only talking to what it touches. 5a to the negative 4 is like saying 5 times 1 over a to the 4th. That's not really how I taught you. I mean, I would prefer you to do it like this. You see a negative exponent, the first thing you do is you put your division symbol. You put the whole power in the bottom of the fraction. Negative exponents go in the bottom. Positive exponents go in the top. 5 divided by a to the 4th. To write as a repeated factor requires you to write the base exactly as it appears as many times as the exponent tells you, such as if it says negative 3 to the 5th power, 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right? No. Technically, in that case, you'd still get the correct answer, but you have got to put your parentheses going with it. You can't just get rid of those. You write the base exactly how it's written. This is the base, parentheses, -3. That would be your correct answer. All right? That's it. All right? So, write using a single exponent, write exponentially, or simplify whatever the expression is using exponents does not mean you're going to get an answer like 15 or 4 or -7. If it says write -9 to the third times -9 to the fifth times -9 squared. If it says write using exponents, you're going to write the base as many times as the exponent tells you to. If the base is saying you're multiplying, you're going to add the exponents. You have a, let's put this 2 on the outside. There we go. The base saying you're multiplying, you're going to add the exponents. You're going to get -9. 5 plus 3 is going to give me 8. Plus 2 gives me 10. It'd be -9 to the 10th power. And I don't want to know what -9 to the 10th power is. It ain't 90. It ain't -90. It's going to be something really, really big. All right? Simplify means leave no negative exponents. Let's look at the difference between the blue one here and the yellow one. X to the -3. I told you, the kids are going to get this right. They follow the steps here. It's the process, not the product. You're going to put x to the -3. You put it in the bottom. And remember, the exponent is only talking to what it touches. The exponent is touching the x. It is not touching the 5. That means the 5 goes in the front. Now, how is that different from this question? The next question, you're going to put your fraction symbol. X to the -3 goes in the bottom. Take away the negative sign. And we said the positive exponent's going to the top. Look back at the blue one. What is the exponent for 5? It's a 1. What is the exponent for this -5 in the yellow one? It's still a 1. You're going to put -5 in the top. This is going to be your answer. You don't put it in the bottom. All right? That's the difference. The kids that are getting these right are the kids that are answering these questions the way I taught you. If you try to do too much of this in your head, you're going to get the answer wrong. I'm telling you, it's not because I don't think you're great at math, not because I don't believe in you, not because I don't love you. It's because you're going to try to do too much at the same time, and you're going to get it wrong because there's too much to keep in your head. We are going to give everything inside, or we're going to give everything an exponent. Well, let's rewrite the sentence first. I would put the numbers next to the numbers, so I'd get 3 times 7. Since we're multiplying, we can do this. All of this is multiplication. So we're going to put the numbers with the numbers. Then we have a to the third times a. Now let's put a 1 going with that a right there, just so we know that it's an understood 1. Then we have b to the 4th times b to the 5th. That gives you 3 times 7. You don't add the coefficients. You're going to add the exponents. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. I haven't seen a question like this. So what happens when you come across a question you have not seen before? Because it's going to happen, or it's not seen before, but what happens if you come across a question in which you don't know how to answer it? As long as you follow the process, the product will end up being the same. I know my exponent is only talking to what it touches. I know that negative exponents are going to go in the bottom. What needs to be simplified here is you have a negative exponent. So the negative exponent, you're going to put the whole power in the bottom, take away the negative sign, and then you're going to put a 50 in the top. 50 over 5 squared. But don't leave it as 5 squared. That's another way of writing 50 over 25. And can you simplify that a little bit further? Sure can. 50 divided by 25, it's just 2. All right? Yeah. Any number variable that does not have an exponent has an understood 1. The orange one. We answered one like that up there earlier. We're going to put the numbers with the numbers. really all I have is a 2. I'm going to do the p's next. I have a p to the third times, keep going through here, no p's. So that's the only p I have. Q to the 7th times q to the -4. And then we have times r squared times r to the -1. And now we're going to go through here and we're going to add up these exponents. Okay, little children, so 2 is not going to be multiplied with anything else. So it's going to be 2p to the third q. 7 plus -4, if you add a negative, that's negative. If I gave you detention, that is negative. So adding a negative, that's negative. So it's like saying 7 minus 4, which is 3. And then you have r squared times r to the -1. If you add a negative, that's just a negative. That give you r to the first power. And you don't need to write that 1 right there. I don't want you to think that's wrong. If technically it's not wrong, I marked that right. That's just not how you generally write it in math. You don't need that 1 right there. That'll be it. Alright, now let's talk about this one. For every exponent rule except for the 0 exponent, you leave the base the same. You know, every one of the exponent rules that we've looked at, you leave the base the same. V to the 9th divided by V to the 7th. That is V to the 2nd. The base same you're dividing, you subtract the exponents. 9 minus 7 gives you 2. How is that different from this next question? V to the 7th divided by V to the 9th. Is it the same thing? This gives you V to the -2. A lot of kids missing this one. V squared goes on the bottom, 1 goes on the top. That's how you end that one. Positive exponents go in the top, negative exponents go in the bottom. Alright, so this one here, oh boy, I just don't have enough room. Seven, you're not dividing it by anything. So what is that, a 0? It's like saying 7 over 1, which is just 7. You're not dividing it by anything, okay? So 7 over 1 is just 7. X to the third divided by x, that's going to give you x to the 2nd power. There's an understood 1 right there. Y squared divided by y squared, that gives you y to the 0. And then z to the 10th divided by z to the 5th, that gives you z to the 5th. Now, we wouldn't leave it like this because y to the 0 power, we'd simplify that and you get a 1. So it's kind of like saying 7x squared times 1 times z to the 5th. And that's how you would leave it. We don't need to put times 1. All right? Ryan times 1 is just Ryan. Rewrite the expression for this next, the pink one. 9 times 2 times j to the -3 times j to the 5 times j to the -8. Base same you're multiplying, we're going to add the exponents. You're going to multiply the coefficients. That gives you 18j, -3 plus 5. You owe $3. Someone gives you 5. You have $2 now. And then you're taking away 8. 2 plus -8. You're doing -3 plus 5 plus -8. That's like saying 2 minus 8, which would give you -6. And you can't leave negative exponents. You're going to put the negative exponents in the bottom. You're going to put the positive exponents in the top. 5 to the 0 power is not 5. 5 to the 0 power is 1. That's what that's saying over there. Just some things for you to remember. Okay. It was a long-winded video. Part 2 will be scientific notation. I believe in you guys. Study hard.